Thank you for your interest in this paper on real options. My name is Mark Smith. Our topic relates to capital projects as investments in the firm's operations. A capital project involves long-term capital, an investment that requires a minimum of a year. We shall consider a 5-year project life. A project is expected to produce net positive cash flows, that is, revenues are greater than expenditures. When planning a project, we consider the estimated cash flows, both negative and positive, over the duration of the project. These cash flows are valued in today's currency by the method of discounted cash flows, or DCF. Discounted cash flow is well understood by management, by financial planners, and by business students who have taken a basic course in finance. In fact, discounting is the inverse of compounding. It derives the present value from future expected cash flows. Our next concept, the net present values, considers projected cash flows that allow for negative cash flows, such as the initial investment in the project. The NPV, as it is commonly called, takes the net of positive and negative cash flows discounted to the present. With an unlimited capital budget, if the NPV is positive, the project is acceptable, and if the company's capital budget is limited, then different project proposals compete for limited funds. In the extreme case of mutually exclusive projects, the highest NPV is the winner. For example, $1,000, or say 1,000 pounds of cash received at the end of 5 years, takes into consideration a discount rate that compensates for things like inflation and the cost of money. Therefore, if the discount rate is 4% annualized over 5 years, then the present value would be about 822, as seen in this example. The present value interest factor, or PVIF, may also be called the PV discount factor, and is shown here as 1 plus 0.404 to the negative 5 power. A real option makes allowances for contingencies with more flexibility at major decision points during the project life. As the name implies, the real options are optional and may be exercised at management's discretion. Some of these real options are shown here. We shall consider the real option to expand the project, which may occur due to favorable returns to date, allowing for an acquisition of more strategic assets, for example. We also consider a flexibility option. The flexibility option is discussed first, and this paper uses it as an example of basic discounted cash flow to derive the NPV. We chose not to use the lattice method in this first example. The project downtime in year 3 allowed an opportunity to use resources in another way, resulting in additional revenues shown. So the NPV strategic includes both the NPV traditional and the NPV real, resulting in an acceptable NPV for the project. The flexibility of real option includes the traditional consideration of NPV using discounted cash flow. In the paper, this is called Step 1, to derive a first pass NPV of the underlying assets. But then the planner may consider the unplanned changes in value of the capital assets. Unexplained value changes are predicted using a branch of probability theory known as stochastics math. In our study, we consider one branch of stochastics, which is a discrete simulation of Brownian motion over the life of the project, allowing for ups and downs in value from one period to the next. This creates a lattice of value for the underlying assets, which is Step 2. It predicts a range of future values and computes from left to right on the lattice. Step 3 works from right to left to value the option itself. The formulas for the up jump and the down jump derived from stochastics math are shown here. Note that the value of E, the banker's constant, raised to a power, may be expressed as e to the sigma times square root of delta t, or in the paper as exp sigma square root delta t. Sigma is the volatility variable, and it changes the least or not at all unless the parameters of the entire project change. Delta t is the incremental time steps in the project. Our project has the simplest time steps at 1 year in a 5-year project, so delta t is 1/5 or 0.2. Now we see the lattice of the underlying in generic form. It starts at the leftmost node which is the NPV carried over from step 1. Our unexplained jumps in value are similar to random walk theory. We apply stochastic math to predict those jumps to produce a range of value over time. To calculate the first two jumps, multiply the original NPV, S0, by the up jump factor and the down jump factor, U and D, respectively. Note that the values 1174 and 811 will be shown on the next lattice. Our final range of terminal nodes is from 511 to 1956. This process is similar to generating a cone of uncertainty in stochastics math. We are working with future values predicted from this stochastic process, which is a discrete simulation of Brownian motion. Our calculated node values for the lattice of the underlying asset is now complete. Notice the first two values calculated from the up jump and down jump formulas, 1144 and 874. Pay special attention to nodes A, B, and C for future reference. Step 3 will calculate the nodes of the options lattice from right to left. Node A, you recall, was 1956. Our option selects the terminal nodes, but this is for convenience in this example. An intermediate node could have been selected, depending on when the option is exercised. Our option for expansion of the project includes both positive and negative expected cash flows. In the example, the option is expected to increase revenue by 25% at a cost of $200, and the result for node A on the option lattice is now $22.45. To calculate node value, we use a risk-neutral probability for the up jump U, shown by the formula for P. With P determined, we can plug this value and the other known factors into the node value formula. Our completed options lattice shows the nodes values calculated from right to left. Notice that at node B, the node value is not according to formula, but carries over the same value from the lattice of the underlying in step 2. This is because the cost of expanding at this node was not justified, and node B from the lattice of the underlying is greater than the expansion option. Management chooses to continue the project as is without the expansion. As we work from right to left in the options lattice, we derive the NPV of the option to expand, 1067. This paper also touches on other types of lattices that may fit the project structure, but this paper does not go into such a study and simply illustrates a basic recombining trinomial lattice structure. Finally, the volatility of the project may be based on historical natural logarithmic returns of a similar project, for example. The volatility should be the same throughout the project, even as other factors, such as the discount factor and cash flows, are subject to change. However, the exception would be when the entire project parameters change, which would require a new estimate of volatility. The weakness of this simple formula and the remedy are shown here. In conclusion, the lattice method begins with the traditional calculation of NPV using discounted cash flows, followed by a discrete simulation of Brownian motion to develop the lattice of the underlying. Finally, the value of the option is calculated by backward induction, from right to left on the options lattice to derive the NPV of the option. The option is taken only if the cash flows are improved. That's profit maximization. This method includes both basic NPV and an allowance for discrete, unexplained jumps in value. The recombining binomial lattice is one method that is easier to explain than the more sophisticated continuous models such as Black-Scholes and partial differential equations. Finally, this method may employ many more incremental time steps, increasing the granularity of the lattice and thereby improving its accuracy. Thank you for your attention. I welcome your questions to my email address.